boy, probably 5. And this week, this Shabbos is my birthday.
Wow.
I'm not going to tell you how old I am. About 50 years of theater, so you can do the math. So, the Rebbe lived in an apartment. The apartment was on President and corner New York. And it was the day that my father came to visit the Rebbe. We're talking about 1950, about that time, 52, 53. Right after the historicals, the physical passing of the previous Rebbe, the Rebbe's father-in-law. And this was a couple 2 years later, 2 or 3. And the crowd on Heights, we lived in Brooklyn, was very, very small after the war. And many of the Chassidim were still in the DP camps in Europe. If you ever heard or read about the DP camps, the survivors from the Gulag, survivors from Auschwitz, concentration camps. After the war, they were held in DP camps, the displaced people camps, until they got the necessary papers to leave, come to America, to Israel, different countries. Rebbe lived in a 1-bedroom apartment. And my father came to see the Levitin, and he left me downstairs in the hall. I was standing there. The door to the outside opened up. I see this person coming. I couldn't tell who it was, a tall person. And as the person I did know this was the Rebbe. So I knew this was the Rebbe. But this is the first, I probably had seen the Rebbe before, but this is the first conscious that I really remember the Rebbe. Rebbe walked, and I'm standing there, a little boy alone, next to the post boxes. The mail. Rebbe looked at me and gave me a smile. See that smile? Then the Rebbe took out a key and opened up his, mailbox. And he took out the mail, and then he turned to me, a different look. Before he had smiled, it was very serious. He looked at me straight, like through me. See, right now I'm talking to you, and he gave me something which came in the mail. And he said, "Nah, take." And I stood, very, very serious. I was a little frightened. And then the Rebbe started walking up the steps, didn't take the elevator. My father got up in an elevator. It was an elevator, I think it's still there. Area came back about 10 years ago to interview somebody for Slichus. I walked into the South, and I hadn't been in 60 plus years. It was an eerie experience. But when you're young, it looks bigger, it got smaller. And the Rebbe was looking at the mail, he walked up the steps. Then my father came down the elevator, the Rebbe was walking up. And I remember jumping and saying to my father, I saw the Rebbe, I saw the Rebbe, I saw the Rebbe. So there was a consciousness. What had the Rebbe given me? We came home, we opened it up, before Pesach, Haggadah. So I think these Haggadahs, now we have all kind of Haggadahs. But then there was the strides, the Haggadah, the pictures, I think they're still floating around. And I got that, and I took it home. And of course, my sister, so afraid, I said, I want it. So it ended up on her sister, and that was the first time I thought it ever. So that episode, in a way, as I look back on it, the smile when you ever first saw me, and then the seriousness of the second look, right in a minute, a young boy. Really, in many ways, you want to have a sense about the Rebbe, personified a lot about the Rebbe as the Rebbe on all different dimensions. The personal smile, the love, and you feel and felt the love together, which this is not so commonly spoken about in a big world, that the Rebbe could be strong, especially with people around closer. He could be very, I would say, how should I say, the Rebbe expected for the people, for us, to perform. Each one has their shlichus. Each one has their mission in life. In a sense, mirroring also what you learn in Torah of the great leaders of previous generations. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself is chesed, kind, forgiving when we reach out and ask for forgiveness, acknowledge shortcoming, which is part of the tshuva process. Together with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Almighty God, can be real, no nonsense. We'll use those terms. Yes, compassion. Yes, rahmanas. Yes, forgiveness, but no nonsense. Like in a sense, I always say, and again, this is not, let's have a mature conversation. A mature conversation. You're mature, you're not 5, you're not 10. Let's have a mature conversation about life as we work together with love, honesty, emes about life. Rabbi Khan, Rabbi Sholom, I don't know if you ever heard the name, with our mashpia. We had the schus to learn Rabbi Yoel. We entered into this class in the fall of 1961 in Bedford and Dean, where the middle school was. Bedford died. Bedford was called Bedford and Dean. And I remember one of the things he really sat with us, and for Barach, a Chassidic, to implant in us the values of Chassidus and about your relationship with the Rebbe, which is so central to all Chassidus, was emes, truth. Remember, we had the schus to go into the Rebbe for our birthdays after the bar mitzvah. Imagine, put yourself into this. I look back, 14-year-old boys walking into the Rebbe. You imagine that? Alone. You're walking at 14 years old, alone to the Rebbe. Bar mitzvah, you went in with a bracha, and you went with the parents. I had the great fortitude, which I always thank my father, Rabbi Sholom, that he took me into the Rebbe when, right in the beginning, 1952, when it was easier on my birthday, around Ches Teves, 20th of Teves. My father took me in, which was then, and I was already grandfathered in. Well, they didn't let it anymore, but I was already in. Every year I went with my father prior to my mitzvah for blessings, and they asked me questions, what I'm learning. Oh, could I eat chocolate? Because I have asthma. I was very allergic to a lot. I was allergic to chocolate. I made up for plus since the years I was allergic. Trust me, I outgrew it. So, 14 years old, you walk into the Rebbe. He asked a bracha. Rabbi said, when you go in there into the Rebbe's room, that is the mokima emes in the world. That is the truth. Right there, you're standing. That is the place of emes, of truth. What you say, what you write, what you ask. And I'm going to say something radical. Rebbe, can I say something radical?
Sure.
How radical can I go?
As radical as you want.
I'm from Seattle. We're radicals. You don't begin to understand what you're talking about there. We're Seattleites. Remember? Chip. 92% of Seattle voted for Hillary against Trump. 92% of my tops. You have to understand what you're dealing with here. Okay, we are anyway. So when I look back on my time going into the Rebbe, there were different things that I asked. You know what I say? The best moment was when I was 21 years old. And I walked in and only asked for a blessing and walked out. I didn't bother the Rebbe at all. All I wanted was, I gave him a letter. This is my birthday. Can I have a blessing? I didn't talk about Veda. I didn't talk about school. I didn't talk about questions. I walked in and I walked out. I look back. That was the moment of emes in my life. I'm going to take time for that with my Yidach. I'm not saying, I'm talking about myself. Everybody had a different kind of journey. And that gave it a little smile, less than 30 seconds. In and out, I felt good. That's a primitive word that was in me, okay? So the centrality of Rebbe, as we prepare ourselves now, in a couple of weeks, less than a couple of weeks, about just under 2 weeks, is Yud Shvat, the 10th day of Shvat. We'll be blessing the new month, this Shabbos. The Shabbos is Shabbos Mavachim. We bless the month of Shvat. Yud Shvat, the 10th day of Shvat, is the day of the Histalkus, the physical passing of the previous Rebbe, the Rebbe's father-in-law, and the Rebbe formally accepting the position, after being very reluctant to do it, accepted the position to lead Klal Yisrael, to lead the Jewish people, to lead us, guide us, and ushered in what we call the Dor HaShvi, the seventh generation. 7 Rebbes. The first Rebbe, the outside of the first Rebbe with this past few days, Chavdal Teves, the 24th day of Teves. His son, Mitzvah Rebbe, his grandson, Tzemach Tzedek, his great-grandson, the Rebbe Marash, the great-great-grandson, the Rebbe of Sab, the 5th Rebbe, and the great-great-great previous Rebbe, and the Rebbe is also of the lineage. In addition to be a son-in-law by the previous Rebbe, comes from a line all the way back to the old Alter Rebbe, the first Rebbe, a different child. Dor HaShvi, our generation of, may Hashem, God willing, we will welcome Mashiach, time of the Messianic time. We see it openly. I'm going to give you an example. So where you see openly, you don't have to really be a big believer, but you have to be an honest observer. There's a difference between being a believer and an honest observer. But 2 and 2 is 4, right? It's not 3, it's not 5. When you look at things and you're an honest observer, you say, well, this is it. I don't have to believe, I'm going to something else. This and this, mamish, you see with your eyes. That the Dor HaShvi, our generation, had the schus, has the privilege that we are the generation where the Rebbe guided us, this generation guides us with his Torah, Sichas, Maimarim, Igris, his letters, videos. There hasn't been any leader in Klal Yisrael, the Jewish people, anywhere where you can sit and watch on a screen hours and hours and hours of Torah. There is no model like that from any previous generation. You can sit, and almost sometimes when I'm sitting and watching the Rebbe, and I stood there, right to the right of the Rebbe, and I'm seeing this screen, it's like, wow, it's even more powerful in some way. You see the Rebbe frontally, and you see certain things which you maybe did not notice when you're all packed up like that. You see it mamish in front of your eyes. The Rebbe standing 3, 4, 5 hours at the Rebbe's age then, middle 80s, upper 80s, giving, you just look at that. Just look at that. People 30 years younger say to me, how could he have done that? How did he stand every Sunday 5, 6, 7 hours on his feet and then go off to the graveside of his father-in-law for another 4 or 5 hours and didn't eat, only drank? I mean, 80, 85, 87, 89. That's right there. That's right in front of your eyes. It's not a movement. You see? But a connection of an individual of a generation with their leadership is old in Judaism. All the way back to Moses, back to Moshe Rabbeinu. That is not new. You have in every generation there's a Moshe Rabbeinu. Pe'al Padiba Hashem Moshe, that one and only who had that kind of connection unique with Moshe, he spoke to God Pe'al Peh, like mouth to mouth. When he came down after 40 days and 40 nights from the mountain, you couldn't look at him. You couldn't look at the face. He had to put some kind of a mask over his face because of the spiritual emanations. After being on that level spiritually, we physical people could not see him and just remain a soul in a body. So we had, that goes all the way back to Moshe Rabbeinu. And on and throughout the generations. One of the unique characteristics of a Rebbe, and we see it by our Rebbe, is taking the responsibility of Klal Yisrael, not only a segment of Klal Yisrael, the totality of Klal Yisrael, the whole nation. In addition, the Rebbe ushered in a responsibility for the world. Through the 7 Noahide law, the 7 Noahide commandment, which all humanity is obligated, as the Rambam writes, to observe, the Rebbe spoke and obligated us to feel that we have an obligation to reach out to the world in general, that they should live by the Noahide code. Not Klal Yisrael, it's not the Bnei Yisrael, not 630 mitzvahs, it's a difference. But we have an obligation to see that that is implemented. That's the Rebbe's novel approach, and you see that level of taking that responsibility. Story. Now, observation. The Rebbe speaks about 7 Noahide laws. Trust me when I say, again, being perfectly frank, candid, the Rebbe spoke about it from the beginning, but then he really began to speak about it. In the 80s, really began to speak about it, writing letters. 90% of the Chassidim went right by him. But they didn't understand what this means. We really told them, what does that mean? What am I supposed to do? Go out in the street and just stand there? Everybody gather together. The 7 Noahide code. So we take that upon ourselves, that we go out into the world and put on people to film, we're going to stand there now, talk. I mean, how do you begin to eat this, to digest this? The Rebbe kept on speaking. So me, personally, that's what I do. So I took it very serious. I take it very serious. In fact, among my friends, they say, Sholom Ber, I could say thousands, not hundreds, thousands. Here, Uber, cars, where I go. I meet somebody, I say, hi, John. How you doing? I'm going to give you a little rabbinical kind of inspiration. You get up in the morning, you open your eyes, say the 3 golden words, thank you, God. Yeah, I think I'm joking around with you people. This happened 2 days ago, right here, in this great town of Crown Heights. So I met a John on Crown, who is overseeing the remodeling over there. She was going on for a while. Last time I was here, they're doing it again. So here we get this John. Now I probably just jumped out and I need somebody to help me here to get to John. How do I get to John? Oh, here it is, John. Tuesday. I met him, tall guy. Looked at me. He says, Rabbi, you have a podcast? I said, I don't have a podcast. I do give a poo-poo every Sunday on Zoom. Gave my card. I said, I'm giving you my card, John. 90% of the people I give my card do not send me their email. That's Rabbi, I'm going right now. John, it was a pleasure meeting you. This is Tuesday, Crown Heights, Crown Corner, Albany. Good morning, Rabbi. Thank you for your kind words and for your sharing your positive energy. I am pleased to meet you. Hope you have an excellent day, John Muller.
Oh, his name is really John.
John Muller.
Wow.
I just did that in Crown Heights.
No.
I said to him, am I the first one to talk to you? He said, yeah, you're the first one to talk to me. Except for the fellow sitting there with the gun, the Shmira, the one who's the God. There's no people going by. You're the first one to stop to say hi. Now, where do you think that came from? I know, I'm from Seattle, but not that much Seattle. And my mother was a flaming liberal in her young years. She's no longer with me. She's an American, my father, from Russia. Flaming liberal, my mom, in the 40s. God comes from the Rebbe. That sense of achrayus, of responsibility for the world, that's right from the Rebbe. That kind of, this kind of caring, real, genuine caring. I walk into the corner here, Chocolatica, right here. I like that place to make good chocolate. My wife told me, don't go in there, keep walking away. I said, I like the chocolate. That's why you shouldn't go in there. It's a good hot chocolate. 3 girls sitting there, teenagers. I could tell right away that these are our children who are on the streets. 2 are sitting, they'll be more than 15 years old. One was wearing pants. I asked her name. I know her grandfather real well. I said, girls, it's Ami. Whatever you want in this place, I'm paying. I'm paying. You know what it means? That someone like this spoke to them and then said, it's on me. They were very nice and wine and they took drinks. They could have broke me. Not right. Very respectful. But they didn't remember that somebody walked in dressed like me and cared to buy them and said on him. That could be a difference between day and night in someone's life. Where do you think it comes from? Comes from the Rebbe. That's tangible. That's bottom line. That's not philosophy and theology and all that kind of stuff. We can sit a whole night about that. We're talking tachlis, chochma bina das, Chabad. So I was bringing the other night. They took me into Baltimore to bring the yeshiva. What's chochma bina das? Chochma, you learn that. That's Chabad. You're in a Chabad institution. Chochma is the Rebbe talks about in Tanya, basic. That's the conception of an idea. You learn, boom, I got it. Something just right there. Something flashes. Bina has to grasp that flash or else it gets lost and bring it down in a structure into words. You know, you walk around with single flashes, you don't bring it down to tachlis and tangible, it's gone. What's das? You know what das is? Das gets real personal. You can talk a whole day about God. You can talk a whole day about the homeless. Seattle has homeless. We have homeless right here. You can talk a whole day philosophize. Das is personal. I conceived an idea. I brought it down into a structure. So what about it? What are we, Einsteins here sitting around talking about
relativity. What is it got to do with practical life? Das is, hey, how do I apply this idea? How does it change me? You see, Adel? We got the Gates Foundation. You ever heard of Bill Gates? Microsoft donated billions of dollars. Really, a model. 90% is going to charity, the Gates Foundation. He is the one who went around and modeling after him, right? Big office downtown Seattle. Ready, top, and right next to the place, they're sleeping in the street. Now, how does that work? You get up and you start a foundation, which is a tremendous inspiration. And right next down to you, down on the street, you're sleeping on the streets. How does that work? Because Mr. Gates, with tremendous respect that I have for him, really do, gave it over to the professionals to run. Get it? I know about the professionals. Give it to them. Here's the check. Make it work. Okay. It's all Chochmah and Bina, and they're doing great other things. But where is that feeling? That's my brother. That's my sister, right there sleeping in front of me in the street. And what am I going to do about that? That's not some abstract human being. It's my brother. It's my sister. It's my mishpacha. And I'm just going to walk right by here and go eat pizza or what? To take it and bring it down and go in. I was there both times. I'll bring it. I've told it before. So Everton, if you heard it, so I told my wife, you say Maidani every day too. You have to hear whatever. She don't know all the reps. We got to hear what the rabbis keep on saying. They got to sit in shul. They got to sit there smiling like as if they heard it for the first time. They heard it 50 times. Yeah, that's this part of come to the territory. You ever heard of the 6-Day War? Anybody raise your hand? Anybody heard of the 6-Day War? I'm impressed. 6-Day War. You're better than any campus I've been to. You'd be surprised how many people lift their hand at the 6-Day War. Remember, 1967 is 22 years after the conclusion of the Second World War. The survivors who were 15, 18, 20 are now 40, 42. Israel is surrounded, it closed off the Suez. NASA is talking about liquidating Eretz Yisrael. You understand the emotion which was built up here. Here I felt it even in Crown Heights. What's going to be? We still, there've been issues with Israel. It wasn't the first time. But then the Rebbe came out like Burma by the parade. 67, I think you get it. I think there is a video. And we're all packed up, there's thousands of kids here. And then the Rebbe begins to talk about the situation in Israel. He needs special blessing. And then it was like an electric shock went through us. This is really serious. That the Rebbe is speaking about this. I'm like, oh, this is punch time. Well, and that's when we had gone out before the Poland film, and now it became a whole mitzvah. The trucks started coming in. We made the first mitzvah trucks. Went into Manhattan. Started right after that Sunday gathering of Lavema. We rolled out. The war now goes next Shabbos. And it's only, the situation is getting, the concern, the agitation. It's people are not sleeping at night. Here, it was affecting people here. United States. Ever come down to the Fabring, I can see him right now, and he's pale. He's like somewhere else as he sits down. And B'Remiza, he hints spiritually language about the situation. I remember after the Fabrengen, Rabbi Yoel, who's the Rebbe's Chos, the one who reviewed the Rebbe's Torah with us, says, it's Gate Sanam Choma. You can tell from the Rebbe, there's going to be a war. I remember him saying that. There's going to be a war. Sunday night, the women come in, one at a time of the year, into the shul 770, and the Rebbe is speaking to the lady. It happened 4 or 5 times a year. I'm sure you remember. This was like summertime, and we're upstairs outside. And there's hookups, microphone, which, by the way, the Agboma for Brain was the first one carried live. They took it, and I mean, from a tape on Kol Yisrael in Israel. The first time they carried, we played the Rebbe's for Brain that Agboma on the radio in Israel. The Rebbe came out and spoke, and this is about 8 o'clock at night. So remember the time. And the Rebbe's voice broke. He said the following: our brothers and sisters in Israel, our brothers and sisters in Israel are in a very difficult situation. Up until now, they've been, but now that his voice broke. And when we found out later, 2:30 in Israel, which was 8 o'clock, a half an hour before, was when the planes took off, the bomb. You ever said those words a half an hour before the planes took off? The war, 6 days, we were out in the streets. The Bishakov girl went through the trains. They made $40,000 with blankets. People were giving everything back. For that yontif, with 90 days, big crowd came from Israel who had never come before to be by the Rebbe. He gone through the church. Chassidim, we heard the name, but the first time, now as you know, this is right before Shoshana. And it's the first part of the shul had been built, not the second part. It was very packed. The Bochum stood to the right where I stood, and the right and the elders in the back. And by the Rebbe, no one speaks. You don't get up and talk. That's not the quorum. The Rebbe speaks. Then we sing, say l'chaim, like you see in the videos. Every once in a while, the Rebbe will turn to somebody to say something, but the Rebbe. After the first sikha, someone jumps up, sitting right in front of a big, strong, 6-footer, and starts to dash and Rebbe and Yiddish Rebbe. What is this? Who is he? What is it? They're down. The one sitting next to him try to grab him, shake him. Because basically you saw that this is not, we don't do this work. Somebody whispers in my ear, as a farmer from Kfar Chabad. He's a farmer from Kfar Chabad. Whatever that means. And they're trying to move me, and the Rebbe's looking at him like a laser. Doesn't look right, doesn't look left, only at him. And we sing louder to try to drown him out. He finally sits down. The Rebbe said a second sikha, second talk. And now we're watching, he jumps up again. And you can't grab him, you grab him, he's like, And the Rebbe looks at him, he's talking and crying. You're not even looking at the Rebbe, looking down at the table. And the Rebbe looks at him, not to anybody else but to him. And we start to sing loud again to try to drown him out. Finally, he sits down. Now, the third talk of the Rebbe, there's some chevra who went under the table. Not where he sits, they're going to grab him. They sing a niggin, remember it? In the alto, this is the famous chassid, he was the composer of the Buddha, and he jumps up again, but now he's wobbly. They got him, and they are holding him, removing him. But he's standing, the Rebbe, opinions, niggin, opinion, I could see the Rebbe. And the Rebbe was looking at him, and then the Rebbe says, name is Yisrael Koch. His son, very close to me, they call him Lush. I don't have a cup became Lush, but that's a separate story. It says these words. Rabbi Yisrael, that is Rabbi Yisrael. That for they nishnispo. Don't you care what they were saying there? It's okay. It's all right. You won't pull back and wow, this is a soul cause. Never says that, shoot boy. Yeah, never this kind of looks at him, but a little bit of a smile. Don't become fazed by them. It's okay. Story number one. Story I told you two stories, right? Story number two. Now it's 16 years later. It's Past Shabbos Shmos, 40 years ago. That's why I'm bringing it up. 40th anniversary. It's Tovshin Mem Gimel. This is Pei Gimel. Dude, that's 40 years. I'm in Seattle, family in Seattle, and we're getting ready to go to a wedding of my brother-in-law who's marrying a young lady from Argentina, Teves. And we're flying in. We then had 6, expecting our 7th. We have 12. God bless. And it's a challenging pregnancy for my wife. We decided to break it up. We'll stay in Florida, in Seattle, Florida, over Shabbos, then go to Argentina. So my wife and small ones and I flew to New York for the Ufruf, the chassan. The chassan gets called before the day of his wedding for an aliyah, for according to the Torah. And it's also my birthday time. Although those years we weren't going into the Rebbe and Yechidus, but I'd come for my birthday to be here. And I come with my 2 sons, Halt and Mendy. And here I walk in, it's a big shul. Never comes out there for bringing, and who's here? Yisrael Koch, the same one who we couldn't control 16 years earlier. Now he's 16 years older now. He's sitting down a little bit further down with his son. By the Fabrengen. And the Rebbe comes out, and it's Pasha Shemos, reading of the Torah of Shemos, 40 years ago, and starts the talk, the dialogue, I'm using that term, that a Jew in Egypt is having with Hashem, with God. And here are some of the words that the Rebbe is saying.
We need to finish up.
Oh, I just got going. I'm here. You can call me in here. I'm for bringing already. I'm not going to put a nickel in. I'm okay. I'm gonna finish up. I'm sorry, ladies, but I'll make it finish now. We're winding it down. So, Rebbe's getting very emotional. He's talking about the exile in Egypt and the pain. And you could feel that the Rebbe is in Egypt. He is one of those who is being enslaved in Egypt. Says the Rebbe, says the Jew to God, where are you? Where are you, Almighty? Don't you see that Pharaoh is showering himself with the blood of the children of your people? Where are you? Says God back to the Jew, I am with you in your tzara, in your anguish. And the Rebbe is getting more emotional and more emotional. And you could see the Rebbe's pain. Said the Jew back to the Almighty, but how are you, how are you here with us in our pain? Do you come down with your whole Pamayr Samayla, with your whole heavenly court, like, whole heavenly court? Says God back, David says back to not only Imenacha, but Sodom, Nakol, Tzeresam, Leitza. Your pain is my pain. What you're going through, I'm going through. And the Rebbe, that's almost, he started to cry loud and put his holy head on his arm on the platform, and the body was shaking and was crying. And we're standing there, thousands of people. And I noticed the woman started, you can hear some of the women starting to cry, and you glide pale, and the Rebbe's totally shaking. His hand, his face on his hand, and no one knows, sobbing uncontrollably. Suddenly, we hear somebody start singing. He said, look, come. Same guy, 16 years later. He doesn't know nothing. He knows one thing. Gotta make freilich. Can't let the Rebbe like this. You can't let the Rebbe like this. Gotta make happy. Gotta bring simcha. Gotta bring joy. He doesn't know nothing. He doesn't. Everybody's quiet. He's singing a little bit. No one stops. No one stops. He saw a cup. That we know what he can do. He's got a free pass there. Slowly, the Rebbe lifts up his holy head. And I tell you, ladies, you could hardly look at the Rebbe. His whole face was like gone, totally pale. Akin to when I walked by the Rebbe when he was sitting Shiva in mourning for the Rebbetzin that first day, that's how the Rebbe looked. I could not look at the Rebbe. We couldn't look at the Rebbe. And he's totally pale. And he's looking, who's singing? He turns, he sees, this is so good. The Rebbe looks slowly. The Rebbe begins to encourage us all to join the singing. The Rebbe's moving his body, but the Rebbe doesn't look anywhere, like those 16 do. Not to the right, not to the left, only at him. And slowly, the Rebbe's color starts coming back. Absolutely. I was in 67, and I was in 83, both places. And we all began singing. The Rebbe looks at him, and the Rebbe slowly. Here's a Yid, the Hashem's story, who lifted the cloud. You know what it means? To lift a cloud, a spiritual cloud on overhang like that. But he actually saw the Rebbe. The Rebbe was leading those moments. He wasn't someplace. This was not just a learning experience from Torah inside the book. This was real life. A whole different world. When you see something like that, you've got to be a changed person at some level. You got to begin to understand what it means to feel pain, bring joy, to say good morning to someone in the streets who's not dangerous. What does it mean? That's what the Rebbe gives you. Our Rebbe. Real life, a model. When you learn the other stories, you watch the other videos, become a transformed, or try to become a transformed person. Your neshama, your soul, comes out from its cocoon. Go on and on and on. And we're all going to go to the promised land, ladies. Now we are going to the promised land. We're going to the promised land. Just hold on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, Mitchell, and Miss Michelle. Nice to meet you. Excuse me. You're from our childhood stories.
Thank you.
Right, and you're okay.
You okay?
Yeah, it just feels full circle.
Oh, that's awesome for you. Take care, take care. Really good.
Thank you. That was great. Appreciate you doing it. Connecticut.
Where?
Glastonbury. It's like by Hartford.
How
Yeah.
long you been in?
2 weeks, about a month now.
Wow.
Yeah. Still new.
Are you enjoying the cheese over there?
Thank you.
Great.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
What?
10.
I would. I need to go to I have something from Rabbi If not, I'll be back. I'll be back.
Yeah.